Grand Rising Soul Fam. Today I am coming on and sharing from the Tao Oracle by Ma Deva Padma. Today I've been exploring Gene Key 18, which is the shadow of judgment, the gift of integrity, the divine expression of perfection. In its victim behaviors, this can be the shadow of repression of inferiority or projection. Our reactive expression can be superiority. In the Tao, this is the hexagram called following. And a couple keywords: loyalty, adaptability, cooperation, trust, reliability, sensitivity to others, service, and receiving guidance. And I've got the programming partner to this one in my Gene Key, so I'll be feeling this. Okay, here we go. The old I Ching texts counsel that in order to lead, one must know how to follow. There's an art to both. They depend upon one another to exist. Without followers, leaders would have no one to lead and would serve no purpose. Without leaders to look up to as teachers and guides, followers would be without role models for their highest aspirations. The best teachers are selflessly devoted, not to what's being taught, but to those under their tutelage. Ultimately, their task is to catalyze understanding and self-awareness. The best leaders keep it always in mind that the ultimate goal is to finally set each follower firmly on his or her own individual course. This process can never conform to a set of uniform rules or guidelines. It must unfold naturally in order to meet the unique needs of the individual. The problem is, of course, that this synchronicity between leaders and followers is extremely rare. Most often we see leaders exploring people for their own ends and followers following someone because they're unwilling to take responsibility for their own lives. Gathering followers for the sake of expanding one's own personal power and influence is self-aggrandizement of the worst kind. It's parasitic to prey on others in order to fulfill one's own ambitions. Manipulating people in order to force their compliance creates an undercurrent of mistrust that eventually undermines any good intentions. On the other side of the coin, it's vital to stretch beyond the known in order to grow and realize our fullest potential. And finding a good role model can often give us the courage we need to make the stretch. This has little to do with how old we are, as there's no set time in life when it's appropriate to seek a mentor. Experimenting with different philosophies and approaches is only one way to find out what works best for you. But in your quest for guidance, it's important to stay in touch with the voice of inner truth that intuitively senses when something or someone is sincerely working for the good of all, rather than from dark motives hidden behind a manipulative sales pitch. Follow your heart above all else. It requires absolute honesty and sincere self-scrutiny to discern the difference between being swept up emotionally by one's own needs and hearing the voice of sincere inner guidance. The former usually demands a good deal of enthusiasm to bolster courage. The latter, on the other hand, can feel like water rolling off a duck's back, or a kind of inevitability when everything seems to fit together like pieces in a puzzle, revealing a bigger and truer picture. The best way to know you are following truth is to check out whether what you're doing provides a deep sense of meaning and purpose to life, however challenged you may feel at times. Coming out of the addiction paradigm almost 4 years ago, I realized I am a devotee. I am someone that loves routine, loves structure, loves my own dependability, my consistency. But when I used that for self-sabotage, I was an addict and I played out self-sabotaging toxic behaviors. But when I actually use that same devotional energy for a higher cause, for greater good, now that same addiction energy is now devotional energy, and it gets channeled into a higher and greater service. And that in itself can provide more of that validation, more of that self-fulfillment. So here we go, bottom line. There are times to withdraw into your own inner silence to find the truth, and there are times when it's helpful to seek out the truth of others in order to broaden your own perspective. Now is the latter sort of time, when you can benefit from listening attentively and respectfully to viewpoints very different from your own. It doesn't mean you have to abandon your own principles, but the exchange will enrich your own understanding of the present circumstances. That's me all day long. I'm just going to say it. I'm a line 1. Line 2. To follow the truth despite one's own preconceived ideas requires deep trust that can surrender whatever you might have up until now considered to be mine. It means suspending judgments and persevering even though what you are asked to do might not make sense rationally. On the other hand, following must never be blind. It must be alert and sensitive, have depth and integrity, otherwise it represents little more than becoming a sheep. Line 3. Following can mean joining another on the path toward yourself. Loved ones and friends can be disturbed by what they perceive as a preoccupation with something they don't understand. They can become angry or fearful at what seems to them to be your withdrawal from the way things used to be. There will probably be points at which your principles and the choice you make will be challenged, but standing your ground will bring benefits far beyond any apparent losses you might face as a consequence. Line 4. Maintaining too tight a hold over anyone is a transgression of their freedom. It denies them the opportunity to learn through experiencing the open book of life. If you find yourself getting inflexible, uptight, unable to bend with the changes, it's a sign that you've given your own set ideas preference over the pulsating requirements of life. Line 5. If you're willing to settle for second best, chances are you'll get it. If, on the other hand, you can allow yourself the possibility that even the most impossible dreams can come true, every step will take you closer to the realization of those dreams. Top line, line 6. Finding yourself in a leadership position can be daunting. If you truly deserve such a position, you'll be aware that it carries with it responsibilities that can be burdensome if they are not managed in the right way. Remain unencumbered by personal motivations and attachment to outcomes, and focus on doing whatever you can to bring others to the place where they can lead themselves. So there you go. I'd say every great leader typically has absolutely no desire to be a leader. But there comes a point where you stop following the herd. Sending you so much love. Namaste.